I get it. You are so sick and tired of people telling you that the only way to grow on Instagram is using Instagram Reels. Well, that's simply not true. Keep watching until the end of this video and I'll show you some alternative ways to grow on Instagram without using Reels. Let's go. Now, the first tip that I have for you is understanding that carousel and single feed posts have the potential to get you a lot of reach only when it's done right. And later on in this video, I'm going to share tips on how to design carousel and single feed posts to increase and maximize your shareability. But essentially, there are tons of accounts out there who don't even incorporate an Instagram Reel strategy, and they are seeing massive growth on their accounts because they've mastered the art of creating great carousel and single feed posts that compel people to share it to their stories. Because once someone shares it to their stories, and there are a lot of people doing that, your post and your account essentially get seen by a lot of people that don't already follow you yet. And that is essentially the goal when it comes to creating these types of content. At the same time, just because you create a carousel post or a single feed post doesn't necessarily mean it's going to guarantee you're going to go viral. And so here are my 4 top tips when it comes to making sure that you maximize shareability. The first tip when it comes to designing carousel and single feed posts that get more shares is to keep the design clean. When you create something simple, it increases shareability because it is universally appealing to most people. There are some people out there who don't want to share content that feels off-brand to them. And because that is incredibly subjective, if you want to play it on the safe side, I highly recommend designing things that are more gender neutral, that are more simple and basic, because it is going to increase the amount of people who would be willing to share it to their own personal page. A good example I like to use to illustrate this point further is even with clothing. More people opt for basic designs like this because it's timeless, it doesn't age, and it doesn't date. Versus trendy pieces like this, while some people are into it, most people aren't. And so if you want to opt for the safer choice, you definitely want to design carousel and feed posts that are similar to these basics, because it's definitely going to appeal to a mass audience that will increase your shareability. Now, on the topic of appealing to a wider audience, when you are designing these posts, you want to make sure you're not showing your face. What would you rather share? A piece of content that has my face in it, or a piece of content that doesn't have my face on it? I have a feeling most people would be more comfortable sharing content that doesn't have the creator's face on it. Now, even though you are creating content for your followers who may already know you, who may feel comfortable sharing your face, what you have to realize is that when they share it to their stories, their audience who doesn't know you yet, who sees you as a stranger, they are less likely to share your post because they don't want to share a random person's face on their stories. I know I prefer not to. And so when you are designing, keep that in mind. Try to keep it text-based only and do not show your face to increase shareability. The next tip that I have to create carousel posts that increase the amount of shares that you get is to make sure that each slide within your carousel post is a share-worthy moment. So for example, let's say you want to tell a story and you are using carousels as the medium to do it. Well, you want to make sure that when you are designing that carousel post, that each slide or majority of those slides could stand on its own and be shared on its own. What you have to understand is that when people are sharing your post to their audience, it's because they want their audience to get a soundbite. They want their audience to get a lesson. And so it's going to be really important, especially when you're creating carousel posts, that as many slides within that carousel deck are actually shareable and can stand on its own. Now here's my personal 4-part framework on how we're able to get more shares on our carousel posts. You want to make sure you have a hook, micro lessons, a key takeaway, and a call to action. Your first slide is going to be your hook. Usually this is 1 or 2 lines that entices someone to keep reading. Then within your body, you want to make sure you share micro lessons. But what's most important is you want to design it so that each slide could technically stand on its own. This is important because it increases the amount of shareable moments that you have in your entire carousel sequence. Now, as a bonus tip, you want to make sure you add a number to each lesson. What we have found is when we do this, we see an increased amount of comments because people like to identify themselves with a specific lesson. And when you add a number, it allows people to tell you which lesson they love the most. Next, you want to wrap it up with a key takeaway. This is essentially the punchline of your entire carousel. Usually, this is the slide that people will often share the most. Then as your last slide of the carousel, you want to have a clear call to action, whether that's growing your email list, directing people to your offers, or whatever you want as the next step. This is incredibly important because as people are sharing your carousel onto their page, their followers are going to check out your account, and you want to make sure that by the end of that carousel that they're reading, they have a clear call to action. This is going to not only help your account, but it's going to help your business if you have one. Now, since implementing my 4-part framework, it has definitely gotten us great results, and I hope that it gets you great results as well. But this also leads to my next tip, and that is looking at your analytics every single month. The only reason why I was able to develop this framework that's worked incredibly well for me is because every single month we make sure to look at our best performing posts and our worst performing posts. What we essentially do is we go into our Instagram analytics, we look at our content, we filter by reach, we filter by shares, and we also filter by the amount of follows. We then look at the patterns of what make the best performing posts good and what make our worst performing posts bad. Then we're essentially able to see what's working and what's not working and double down on the things that are getting us results. And so as a content creator, I highly recommend that you look at your analytics to make sure that you are designing and creating posts that are gonna get you the best results, and make sure that you are backing your strategies and your frameworks with data. Now, so far in this video, I've really centered my strategies around creating carousel and feed posts to get you more shares. But let's shift gears and talk about the other strategies that can grow your account without tapping into Instagram Reels. And that is using the collab feature. Now, if you don't know what the collab feature is that when you share a post, when you click on tags, you're able to add a collaborator. And when you do that, that single post is not only gonna show up on your feed, it's also gonna show up on their feed as well, which allows you to have double exposure. Now, when it comes to how best to leverage the collaboration feature, my recommendation is to collaborate with other creators in your industry. So for example, maybe I'll choose another social media educator to do a collab with. I'll do 3 posts on Instagram hacks and they'll do 3 posts on Pinterest hacks. And we'll make sure to use the collaboration feature so that my posts show up on her feed and her posts show up on my feed. This allows my posts to reach people who don't follow me yet and vice versa, and allows us to increase the amount of engagement and reach we're getting all together because of that double exposure. This is one way to really maximize this feature, and is likely why this feature was even designed by Instagram. Now, another example I want to give you is I have a friend, Chris Doe. You likely know him because he has an awesome YouTube channel. Now, Chris Doe, over on his Instagram page, he has other people contribute content to his account. Now, if I were to take it a step further, I would want them to use the collaboration feature so that those posts show up on the other creator's page as well, so that they can both reach more audiences. Now, comment below and let me know if you've ever used the collaboration feature or if you plan to use it in the future. I would love to know. Now, with that being said, let's talk about the next tip, and that is setting up a ManyChat automation. What ManyChat is it's a tool that allows you to automate certain activities within Instagram. And don't worry, you are not gonna get in trouble, you're not gonna get shadow banned, it's actually approved by Instagram. So here's an example of how I use ManyChat. Let's say I'm selling my social media dashboard. What I did was I actually told my audience, hey, if you want a copy of this dashboard, just DM me the word Notion and my bot will send it to you. A ton of people DM me the word Notion and they got the resource really easily. So why is this beneficial? It's really for 2 things. Number 1, they get the resource easily and it sparks a DM, which allows us to have a conversation, which could lead into a sales conversation for my business. The second reason is because it shows Instagram that people are actively DMing me, and therefore it tells Instagram that there's a lot of activity happening on my account and that people like to engage with my account, which then increases the amount of reach that I might get on my posts. It might boost me up in the algorithm. It might put my content out to more people. And so that is why I highly recommend using something like ManyChat to increase the amount of activity that you are getting on your account. Now, in addition to being able to do this for your DMs, you can also do this for your comment section. So how you can set ManyChat up is you can tell people to comment the keyword, in which people will flood your comments with that keyword, which then shows a bunch of activity, and your bot will then send the resources to their DMs. That is another way that you can leverage the ManyChat tool if you would like the activity to happen in the comment section versus your DMs. Personally, I prefer using the DMs because it allows us to have one-on-one private conversations, but if you want to use comments, you can absolutely do that with ManyChat as well. Now, if you are someone who is interested in using ManyChat or at least trying it out, then make sure you click the link in my description box and use the promo code that you see to save when you sign up. Now let's move on to the next tip that I have for you to increase your reach without using Instagram Reels, and that is setting up your Instagram account for discoverability. Now I'm about to share with you a few tips around this, but the first one that is the lowest hanging fruit is updating your name within your Instagram with a keyword that you know people are searching for. Now, the reason why you want to do this is Instagram is still like a search engine. People are always searching for things, and you want to make sure that your account will show up in that search bar. And so, for example, if you are a creator who likes to talk about YouTube, you'll want to make sure your name has the word YouTube in it, or YouTube tips, or YouTube coach. If you are an interior designer, you might want to add that to your name, or maybe niche down just a little bit and say boho design or farmhouse design or whatever niche design that you're doing. Now, let's say if you're a photographer, you'll want to put photography in the headline as well, or maybe niche it down a little bit like boudoir photographer or wedding photographer to really get targeted followers that would benefit your business. Now, what you don't want to do is you don't want to niche down so much where it's not necessarily something that a lot of people are searching for. So for example, even mine says creator to CEO, and I have a feeling not a lot of people are searching for that. So even for me, I should probably update my name. Not only this, you want to make sure that you aren't choosing words that are very uniquely spelt. So for instance, if you are writing boss lady, you'll want to write boss the proper way and not this way with a bunch of money signs, because most people aren't typing that in the search bar. You want to make the most out of the name section of your Instagram account, because ultimately that is going to help you with your discoverability when you choose the right keywords. Now, on the topic of discoverability, here's another way to increase your discoverability, and that is allowing Instagram to properly categorize your account so that they can show it to the right people. What does this mean? How the Instagram algorithm works is Instagram will show you content and accounts based on your interests. But the issue is if Instagram doesn't know what your account is all about, maybe there's not a clear theme to it, it's going to be really hard for Instagram to push your content to the right people. And so how do you help Instagram categorize your account? Number one is you want to be consistent with the types of content that you are pushing out. For instance, if you are one day talking about cats, then another day talking about business, and then another day talking about beauty, it's going to confuse the algorithm and Instagram's not going to know what your account is truly about. Secondly, you also want to follow and engage with similar accounts. This helps Instagram group you together with other creators that do similar things that you do. And it also increases the chances of you showing up when someone goes to your competitor's page and looks at other accounts that they should follow. Next, you want to use keywords to help Instagram know what you do and categorize your content. Now, I have this video right here where I talked about Instagram SEO and hashtags and how it works now, but ultimately, if you put keywords in your captions, in your photo, or in your hashtags, you are going to have a better chance in showing in search. As I mentioned in this video right here, even if I search for a key term, that person does not need to have the hashtag in order for their content to show up. And ultimately, this helps Instagram know what your content piece is about and show it to the right people while also putting it out in the Explore page. And so if you want to learn more about that, then make sure you check out this video that I have right here. Now, at this point in the video, I've really shared a lot of different strategies to help you boost your reach even without using Instagram Reels. Comment below and let me know which one helped the most, and make sure you watch this video that I have right here as the second step. As always, guys, I appreciate you. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye, guys, and take care.